Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unfuck Your Money. I'm your host, Nadine Zalmot, somatic practitioner and financial empowerment coach. And today's episode is dedicated to those of you who are overgivers, those of you who are fixers. If you are constantly putting other people's need ahead of your own, if you're exhausted from overgiving, if your finances and your self care are suffering because of your fixing tendencies, this episode is for you. And with me today is my good friend, Marina Triner. Welcome back to Unfuck Your Money. This is probably your second or third episode with us today. I
Yeah,
believe
I think it's
so.
the third.
Yeah. So if anyone is interested to find out more about Marina and her background, please check out our previous episodes because we're going to dive right in today, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, first of all, Marina, how are you? How's it going?
Maybe I am experiencing the results of my many years of fixing behaviors
Yeah.
today. So it's
Oh,
a
really?
fitting episode.
Okay. So, let's just get a bit of a background here. What has been your journey with fixing?
So I would say it's been very interesting because a lot of my focus in my healing journey has been on my dad, who's very self-centered, narcissistic, and it's very easy to and aggressive. It's very easy to see, like, of course, he's the problem, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then there was my mother, who was and is very dependent on him and very dependent on me, and really needing me to kind of support her overwhelm from him. That's what I would argue she wouldn't attest to
She
this.
won't like that, but.
She will not like that. Just needing me as an emotional support,
Mm-hmm.
essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And once I could really see that, and that was really hard to see because we were extremely close, and she was like my person, my go-to person in my mind. Like, she's always there, but it's not really, because it's not like a safe space to really be. Like, I had to censor so much of myself with her,
Mm-hmm.
and everything was kind of mediated by her reaction and response.
Okay.
So, for example, and I know you're going to bring this to money, so I'm already going to share this story.
How did you know? Maybe
I
the
don't
name
know.
of the name of the show gave it away.
Just a guess. When I was like 5, we were very poor,
Mhm.
and we were walking on the street, and I saw a doll in the window of a store, and I said, I want that doll, to my mom. And she said, we don't have money for it. And I think a normal child would have a tantrum,
Mhm.
which I've seen many children do. And I
Mhm.
think it's kind of
Yeah.
healthy. I
It's
think it's
a
pretty
healthy thing to have a
healthy,
tantrum if you
right?
wanted something, even as an
Exactly.
adult, even if you wanted something you can't have it.
Exactly.
Drop a tanty here there.
Exactly. My response was, it's okay, mommy. You can buy
Oh.
it for me when you have money.
Oh, okay. So you were 5 going on motherhood.
30.
You're the mother's mother.
Exactly. And that's why I believe that I haven't had kids yet and
Mhm.
never wanted them, because I feel like I was always her mom. And I would say, it's
Mhm.
okay, mommy. And she shares that story to this day as if it's a really sweet thing. And I don't think it's sweet. I think it's fucked up. I think it's a problem. There's no real self-expression. There was so much censoring, which I still,
Mhm.
struggle with sometimes, like, and I'm much better at, but so much repression,
Mhm.
so much repression. And that caused me to go into many addictions, I think, like
Okay.
work, food, exercise, and all that, I believe, is very much related to fixing. And men.
And
That's the
mhm.
hardest one. Yes, the
Mhm.
hardest one, and finding projects like my mom, because she was the good one, and I want to repeat the good one. I don't want
Got
to
it.
fall
Yeah.
into the bad trap, so I got to stay with the good one, and those are projects that I can fix and I can be needed.
Do you think that trickled over into your other relationships, as an adult or even friendships?
Oh, absolutely.
So you're
Friendships too.
always befriending projects, huh?
Yes. And I literally lost like two of my best friends at this
Mhm.
around the same time, and I recognized, like, I had a role in that too, because that's what made me feel safe. They didn't know anything about me. They didn't know how I felt. They
Okay.
were never there for
I
me.
see. I
They,
see. Yeah.
but
They
it
didn't
was
really
very
know who you
comfortable.
really are, but
Uh-uh.
they know that you were there for them.
Exactly. And I
But
had that role.
yeah, so I feel like kind of I can't isolate exactly who right now, but I kind of feel like I have had friendships in the past to where if I were to say anything about myself, they would be like, "Oh, you're real?" Like you exist. Y- Yeah. Is that what
Yeah.
you mean? Like just
Well, I would say things about myself and I was a very
Mhm.
open book, but I wouldn't show emotions and I never asked for
Mm,
help.
got
So
it.
when my marriage started getting really fucked up and I went to one of those best friends, she disappeared. She just pieced out of my life.
So being a fixer kind of makes you into a low maintenance partner or friend.
Yeah. The easygoing, but
Hmm.
also everybody comes to me because I'm
Of
there.
course. Of course. Got it. Okay. And what do you think are the deeper reasons why people engage in fixing behaviors?
I really think it's a, like you always talk about, it's a nervous system safety mechanism. And actually, one of my favorite teachers, Terry Real, uses fixing as the fourth F in our
Hmm.
nervous system state. So we have fight,
That's really
flight,
smart.
uh-huh, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, but also fix. Like people pleasing and fixing are very related, but it really is like as if you would run away or hide, you would fix. Like that really keeps you safe. And that's really
I,
why we do it.
when you say it that way, that makes me feel like my fixing tendencies are really a fight response.
Mm.
For me personally, that's
Hmm.
how it comes. I've had situations, a lot of situations where I was married to an alcoholic decades ago, and he felt like a project I was fixing, but that was my fight response of like, no, I'm not taking your bullshit. I'm gonna fix you and you're gonna be perfect. And when I got together with my current partner, I also put the fixer hat on of like, oh, you've got one, two, three, four, five things that you need to change about yourself, and I'm gonna fix them. And it was a struggle because that's what all I knew. That was my blueprint of like, okay, fix, fix, fix. But what he needed was for me to just kind of say, look, this is not working for me. And he wanted to fix it for himself. But that kind of made me not know what to do. I'm like, all right, what do I do now? Because all I knew was to fix, right? But that's
Yeah.
me in my life now. I'm like, what is broken in my life so that I can fix? And it's really exhausting. It's really, really
Oh my
exhausting.
God. It leads to burnout like
Mm-hmm.
immediately. And yeah, I think it's just not sustainable and it's different for everyone. I feel like for me, it's more related to a fawn
For you, it's a
response.
phone. So
Yes.
let's go back to that piece of safety. So you were going on about that. Let's just go back to that, circle back to that.
Yeah. So when you think about people would say, well, I want to be able to help people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Did they ask for help, right? And who are you helping for? Like, are you genuinely helping for them? Meaning, like, if it's not actually helpful, you're gonna be like,
Mm.
okay, all right, cool. Like, then
Yeah. Are
moving
you trying
on.
to prove something, or are
Mhm.
you doing it from the goodness of your heart?
Yeah, and so the question is like if people listening, like if you think about a particular situation and you're not sure what you were doing there,
Mm-hmm.
if you imagine that you were not allowed to help, what are you feeling? Like, do you feel anxious? Do you feel anxiety? Or do
Helpless.
you feel like, okay, I mean, that's okay. They'll figure it out. If they don't want my help, that's fine, right? Or do you feel helpless? Yeah, or like what do
Mm-hmm.
you feel? And then it's really like about you. Fixing is about you. It's not about the other person. It's about how you're trying to help yourself. And it's actually quite manipulative. And when you think about narcissistic dynamics,
Mm-hmm.
there's a narcissist and then there's an enabler. And what I experienced with my mother is the enabler can be very, very manipulative, right? It's different there. It's not all about them seemingly, but it kind of is. Like it is about them. It's about their safety. And fixing behaviors are kind of similar to that. And I say that with love because I do it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and I look at it, but it's like you do it for you. You don't do it for the other person. And it is really like a childlike state.
Okay. Can you give us some examples, maybe from your life or maybe anonymously from client lives?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know the story, but you said you've been married to an alcoholic, and you know I fell in love with a drug addict, a homeless drug addict, and I think it's very complex. Like we can't say like with this person that we loved, it was just a project. It's not exactly
No,
like
no,
that.
no. Yeah.
It's complex. Like yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we loved that person, but we also wanted to fix them so that we could feel safe, we could
Mm-hmm.
feel needed, we could feel like we're not going to be rejected.
We could
I
feel like
think,
we belong to a safe relationship.
yeah, absolutely. Or in the world, like we
In the
belong
world,
in the
it's true.
world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this all comes from childhood trauma. It's completely linked to childhood trauma. The sense of not belonging as a child or not
Yeah.
being seen, and then somebody does see you or you feel that you belong with them. I think it's also like the inability to rest,
Mm-hmm.
like feeling very guilty when you rest, or feeling
Mm-hmm.
like this happens to me a lot in my work where I feel like anything I'm going to do is not enough. So I sit down, it's as simple as I sit down to write a post or I sit down to write an email and I feel an anxiety like this is not going to be enough.
Mm.
And coming back to your previous question, I think it's related to having to earn love as a
Having to
child
earn love.
some
Mm.
way. Like
Yeah.
you have to do more. You have to earn it. Like I had to get good grades. I had to be the good one. I had to be complacent and quiet and sweet. And I could not have a tantrum. I could not be disappointed. Those were not options for me.
Mm, I definitely needed to earn love as well, but as the eldest sibling, I was expected to be my mom's right hand and to actually fix things. If something wasn't working, like if my sister was behind on her homework or laundry wasn't being done or whatever, it was my responsibility. Like, so if something was broken, I was the one that was expected to fix it. And I was never treated as a child. I always was treated as like the parental unit. Even now, I spent some time with my sister earlier this year, and she said it in like in passing. It was very cute. She goes, I don't think of you as my sister. I think of you as my mother's sister. And I'm like, yeah, I know what you mean because that's my role was like a parent to them, to her and my brother. And it was more like a parent, seriously. Like even my dad, when he tells me something about my siblings, he tells me as if I'm a parent too. And I keep reminding him, I didn't give birth to this person. You did. This person is my sibling. They're not my responsibility. I am
Yeah.
as much your responsibility as they are. By the way,
Yeah.
I am your responsibility. Like I am a child. I am your
Did you
child.
know?
Did you know?
Newsflash.
Because I don't think my parents ever thought of me as like their child. Maybe when it was just me, maybe until I was 10. I don't know. Like I cannot just sit and can kind of like just assume what my parents thought. But as far as I remember, I always was treated as Nadine, fix it.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And that
Uh-huh.
role reversal and what you mentioned about over responsibility and over
Mm-hmm.
giving, I think there's also one of the things is over empathy that
Mm-hmm.
I know I experienced. Like, but I feel bad for this person and I feel guilty, so I'm going to help them. And it's like it's I know it comes from my in my childhood my dad would just blow up all the time and everybody in the
Mm-hmm.
family
Mm-hmm.
because a family needs to keep its dynamic going otherwise people lose their shit like that's how it works so everyone has a role and once you destabilize your role things chaos
Of
happens
course. Uh-huh.
even though we grew up in chaos so it's like wait there's already chaos but in their minds like okay this is how things work so in my family it was like everybody explains why my father loses his shit
Yeah, that's
and
okay. That's explicable. That's organized chaos. It's fine. We
exactly
understand it. We
exactly
expect it. That's what he does. However,
exactly it's not okay yeah
however, if you change your role, what happens?
oh exactly they completely lose it and it's like
Mm-hmm.
I mean my mom just kept saying oh everything is on its head now. Like, like she's feeling this chaos because as a child, they always would um, justify his
Mhm.
behavior with,
Mhm.
you need to be compassionate. I
Mhm.
was told I need to be
Mhm.
compassionate because he has a lot of trauma. And so, like, this is how I then operated in the world. Like,
Yeah.
always justifying, because it's one thing to see why someone does what they do, right? To like see it and understand, oh, okay, of course, this, I don't know, I'll take an extreme example. Hitler, here's a childhood he had. Okay, blah, 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 blah. It's one thing to understand, and I think it's really important to understand it so that we can prevent these types of parenting styles in the future. It's another thing to say, oh, understanding is the same as justifying.
Or
It's
excusing.
okay.
Yeah.
Exactly, excusing the behavior. And this is something that fixers really need to learn, is
Mhm.
to separate these things.
Mhm.
Even if we feel, and I do, an over compassion or empathy or guilt, all these things, I still feel it in the moment. I'm like, I don't want to say anything. Then I say, okay, I'm feeling the guilt. I'm noticing the guilt. It's there now. What is the behavior that just happened? Is that okay? No, it's not okay. If my friend told me about this, would it be okay? Actually, no. Okay. So I can feel the guilt and I can still tell that person no
What about parents who are fixers?
with their kids.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's totally a thing. I think that people listening to this who recognize this behavior with romantic partners at work, like overdoing,
Mhm.
with friendships, for sure they can pass it to their kids. And I think it comes a lot as like it makes your kid feel like they're not capable,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I've had friends or clients where they have children and their children are obviously different personalities, but a lot of their time, energy, and money always goes towards this one child, that
The problem child.
problem child, or maybe the child has gone through something. We don't know. Like, it's always, it's a variable situation with different stories, right? But like, that parent feels responsible for that child's well-being, for that child's happiness, but that takes a toll on the parent.
Yeah. I mean, of course, parents are responsible for the child's
So what's
well-being.
where's that line?
So I think it's interesting because I remember in a group program recently, a woman asked this, like, my son, I think he was a teenager, and I'm always trying to, and even as she's talking, like I can feel the frantic energy, and I'm giving him all these options and da, 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 and it's really like tuning into yourself. This is the question I asked her. Is he in this moment when you're giving him all these options and you're perceiving that he's a shit show? And maybe he is. Okay, that is not saying it's not. Is he responsible for you to become calm in that moment?
Ooh, okay, hang on a second. Oh, I need a minute. Damn, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Please expand on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I kind of feel like there's something. Like, I that emotionally hit me. I
Mm,
don't know why yet, but please
mhm.
go on.
I wonder if that was your experience too, growing up. Um, when a parent is using their child I'm sure they all do sometimes, right? It's
Oh,
okay.
oh, yeah.
But if it's like repetitive that you are stressed, you
Mhm.
might be stressed about the kid or you might be stressed about something different, right?
Mhm.
That kid might also be triggering your own childhood stuff. I don't know. It's a myriad of things.
It is.
And you have this unprocessed trauma, and then this child, you frantically being like, okay, we're gonna try this and we're gonna do this and it's gonna look like this, and really you want the kid to say, okay, yes, let's try it, and then you get calm.
Uh-huh.
This is the issue. So first, what I told her to do, because it's a teenager, is to say, hey, I'm really stressed right now, so I'm going to ground myself in front of you. Maybe you can even join me and you do your practices, like you regulate yourself. And then from that space, you can even say the same words to the kid. You can say, hey, let's look at all these options that I am
Mm,
thinking about for
mhm,
you.
mhm.
But it's such a different energy. And that child then feels like, oh, my mom just wants to help. She's not trying to use me to calm
To
herself.
calm herself down. Yeah,
Yeah, and
exactly.
also I'm not a project, and also I'm capable, and she's just here to support my own capacity. She's not giving me the message that I'm a mess and I can't do anything, but it's more like you're capable. I got the message all the time that I was incapable because of
Mhm,
this. My
mhm,
parents they were so stressed for good reason, like for
mhm.
good reason. They were refugees like twice in their life.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
two militaries, like all the things. Okay, I get that, but they also never like actually did the work to ground themselves. They would use me for that.
Okay. You were you were the you were their grounding, like
The pacifier.
the pacifier. I see.
For the
Yeah,
pacifier.
yeah, I know what a pacifier is. I don't have
Yeah.
kids, but I know what a pacifier is.
Well, the pacifier, I guess, could be also the thing to bring peace, right? Which is also
Yeah,
kind of true. Like
you're
it's
the
the thing.
pacifier.
Pacifier. Exactly. Okay, different words, my English, whatever. But yeah, both work.
So, how can maybe any of our listeners, how can one identify if they are actually fixing, and how does it manifest in different areas of life?
I think it's the most important thing is to notice your body.
Mm,
Somatics, yes, because it's not a mental thing, and it doesn't matter what the words are
okay.
really that you're using, or what your thoughts matter to an extent, but I think it's really like, how does it feel inside? Do you feel
Mm,
grounded, or do you feel like you're in a stress state,
mm-hmm.
and the things you're saying and doing are meant to bring you calm through controlling what the other person will do? So ask yourself, okay, if that person says, like, no thanks to all your advice and get the hell out of my face, or I'm going to do something completely opposite to what you're saying, is that going to be okay for you? What's going to
Yeah.
show up, what's going to happen. So it's like a nervous system check in, and check in with your sensations. Like, how is your breath, and how is your heart rate, and what are you noticing? Like, can you
Mm-hmm.
feel your body? Is it feeling safe, or is it feeling really unsafe? That's, I think, the number one thing, because again, this is a mechanism to get yourself to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we already talked a bit about how it shows up everywhere. There's like the no resting, there's the overdoing. Like, here's a cute example. When I was in university, one of my last tests, it was like a written essay test, and I was like the last person in the room. And when I submitted my test, my professor was like, Marina, I'm sure you're going to do great, but also, like, you didn't need to stay this long, and you didn't need to write this much. Like, I would have given you an A even if you did less. Like, she literally told me, and it gave me pause. I was like, "Oh my God, she's
Mm-hmm.
right." So it's that constant overdoing that we kind of talked a little bit about exhaustion, but it's
It's
draining.
draining. I know it's draining. I know when we moved into this house, when we bought this house, like I was in my fixer mode for sure, and I burned myself out to a point where my immune system attacked itself temporarily, but it was vicious. So I get that. It really, really does burn you out. And the thing is with burnout, and that's just me going on a tangent here. The thing is with burnout, and the thing is with having a nervous system that's constantly dysregulated, is that I had to learn this the hard way. It really fucks with your immune system because your immune system and your nervous system talk all the time. And when you are constantly stressed, constantly finding projects to fix, your immunity goes down. You are more prone to infection, more prone to illness, and sometimes even like what happened to me. Like I had an autoimmune attack and it was devastating for a while. But it taught me a
Absolutely.
lesson. It taught me a lesson. It kicked my ass. It taught me a lesson of that, of like stop fixing, stop trying to push yourself, stop being on everybody's case. Because for me, I was trying to fix Arby, our dog, trying to fix Tommy, trying to fix the house, trying to fix the whole financial system that makes grabbing a mortgage so complicated. Like that was driving me nuts. We were living in a place before this. We were renting and the landlord was being an asshole. I was trying to fix him too, you know? I was sending him email trying to like, edify him.
It's that overdoing. It's
Yeah.
the feeling that it's never
It's
enough
never
and
going to
you
be
have to
enough.
do more. You have to do more. And that's the source of it, that you had to work for love.
Yeah.
Because children, it's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to say 50% of the time or more,
Mm-hmm.
a healthy child feels that they can throw a tantrum or do whatever the hell and still be loved.
Yeah.
50%, not 100,
Yeah.
but
That's when we're like securely attached. But
exactly.
the other 50, like, we always talk about how we're disorganized. We've got disorganized attachment at times. So I just identified I'm fucked. Maybe some of my listeners identified that they're fixers too. What do we do about it? What are some strategies, steps, stages of healing from these behaviors? And what do we like? What's on the other side, right? Like I always say, financial healing, the other side of it is financial peace and a feeling of empowerment with money and all that stuff. But talk to us. Tell us more about like what it takes to heal this shit
Mhm.
and what's waiting for us on the other side of the bridge.
Mhm. I think I'll start with the what's waiting on the other side. And
Mm,
I think it's worth mentioning this is not a one time quick fix. Like, and we will always have that tendency
yeah.
because, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
so it's really learning to continuously work with it.
Yeah.
And I think much deeper relationships where you can be actually vulnerable.
Mm,
Like you can act
yeah.
because when you're a fixer, you're not in the relationship, you're not being seen.
Yeah, well, I gotta say something about this. So, as a self-proclaimed fixer in my relationship, my partnership, when I got sick, I did not have the capacity to fix nothing, including myself. And that was a big identity crisis for me because who am I if I'm not fixing? Who am I if I'm not doing? Because my hands and my feet were paralyzed. And I was in a freeze response because I don't know what the fuck was wrong with me. So, like, I was out. And if I weren't the fixer, who was I? And for me, so I went to Jordan to get rehab and I came back well, thank God. But I didn't want to not it's not like I consciously did not want to fall back into my old habits. It's like my body would not let me fall back into my own habits, into my old habits because now on a visceral level, overdoing is unsafe for me because I saw what happened to me from overdoing. So Marina and I had a session. She was coaching me over the weekend, and that was something that kind of came indirectly of like, how can I be more vulnerable with my husband? Because I'm always the one fixing, I'm always the one responsible. But now I I don't know what I feel about life, and there's a part of me that's like needs reviving. And it was hard for me to actually like just step into that vulnerability and communicate that. So just an example of what you're saying, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really brilliant, powerful example. And I
Mhm.
totally identify with that. And it's I mean, vulnerability is scary for all of us, but I think we have different pathways to
Mhm.
not. And you know what? I think fixers crave to be seen so
Mm.
badly. And the
Yeah, yeah,
way that
yeah.
we're being seen is when we're helping.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you so
Being
much.
useful. Yeah.
Exactly. That was amazing. Thank you. You just changed my life. We want to hear that, right? And so, but where are you? Like, are you there? Are you actually in the relationship? And so in this time of my life, it's two things. Like what you're talking about, the immune system, the the
Mhm.
suppression of who you are and your emotions and your needs. We didn't even talk about
Mm.
needs,
Oh
but it's
gosh. Yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah.
that's
The
important to
suppression.
mention.
Being a fixer, how do you have needs? You actually kind of mentioned it with the example of the doll and your mom, but
Yes,
like me too, like I didn't have needs when I was the fixer before I got sick. How dare I have needs? Even
exactly.
to myself, I did not even dare. voice my needs.
Exactly. It's very scary. So that's what the vulnerability is. It's
Mm.
just being, resting, showing yourself to someone, like truly, because someone can only see you when you're showing yourself. Otherwise, they can't see you.
When you're not hiding behind the fixing, when you don't
Yeah,
feel like, when you stop feeling like you're only good enough if you're useful, pretty much, right?
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And also asking for help. Like these are things in
Yeah.
the last
I
few
had to learn that
years.
the really hard way. Like, can you cut my food because I can barely use a utensil? Yeah. Can you
Yeah,
write my name and my address on this doctor's form because I can't?
yeah,
That was
exactly.
really confronting, actually, and I hope I never have to experience that again. But whoa, that was fucked.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we sometimes we have to learn that the hard way, but it's like really those abilities to actually have like real intimacy. Like I feel that in my friendships, and not all
Mm-hmm.
my friendships, but many of them now that I could never get there before, and it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And to really feel seen by many of my friends. So that's where we're going.
Okay.
How do we get there? There are two kind of parts to it.
Okay.
One part is in the moment when you're noticing that you're getting triggered and your nervous system is elevating to this behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You can pause and settle and ground yourself in the moment. And that's a practice over and over and over again. And the other thing is to actually work through
Mm.
the foundation, the deep reason for why you are behaving in this way,
Mm-hmm.
to do the healing work around it and to go back to those childhood memories and childhood experiences that have created that nervous system survival response. So
Mm-hmm.
those are two things. There's also resting, but resting comes later in the healing process. I think it's really hard because
It's really
also
hard. It's actually it's challenging to feel safe to rest for us fixers. I get it.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly, because your nervous system is very activated
Mm.
in general. You're in fight or flight a lot of the time. So
Mm-hmm.
that comes later. There's also working on expressing your emotions and your needs, but
Mm-hmm.
first with yourself, then you gradually get to do it with others. So those are some of the parts. And I think this is such a complex behavior
Of course,
that
yeah.
touches so many parts of us
Yeah,
that
it's a lot.
um it really changes your life when you start digging into it, like so many aspects of your life, so many.
Let's kind of just talk more about how this would look like financially, right? So say that Jane, whoever, is a fixer, their finances would how would that look like? So if they're a fixer, that means that they're constantly dysregulated in their nervous system, and that this is going to manifest as financial dysregulation. So tell us more about what that looks like.
Yeah, I think it can be overgiving, like
Mm-hmm.
literally like giving away too much. It
Mm-hmm.
could be, but I didn't resonate with that. So I remember thinking like, do I overgive? Not really. I don't people please. But I think in my case and in for many, many people, because they're giving so much everywhere, they become really resentful and then they
Mm-hmm.
kind of need to also numb and all the things. So they overspend. I think overspending is like quite a
Mm-hmm.
which you teach a lot about, I know, is a very common symptom of being a fixer because you're like, fuck this, like it's time for me to have some good things in this life and this is what I'm going to do. That's one thing. The other thing is the depletion that you have, like the exhaustion, being so depleted. I think it's also financial. And that's where I
Mm-hmm.
found myself,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Like,
Yeah, I talk about the five archetypes or the five parts of emotional spending, and a lot of times there's like the two parts, which are the painkiller and the player, that show up when we are always in constant fixing mode, and that's because we're numbing the pain of needing to fix everyone and not receiving the attention and the support that we actually crave, so we buy things to numb that pain, or that we're taking life too seriously, so that player part comes and shows us how we can actually have fun, and that can look like going off on a tangent from what our financial goals are. spending is not bad. It's just that the intention, because let's say like I'm trying to, I don't know, like help like fix my husband's whatever behavior. If I come at it from a dysregulated state of like, if I fix him, that will fix me, that will have a completely different energy to where I'm balanced, I'm here, I'm regulated, and I'm kind of seeing if he needs help first. Because as soon as you regulate yourself, it changes your entire outlook, and from that nervous system state, everything changes. Like you will behave differently. It's not like it's not a question of how would I behave if. It's more like put yourself in a different nervous system state and you are going to organically behave and look at this situation in a completely different lens, to where you're not actually fixing, you're something else. I don't know what it is, but it's going to look different.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that dysregulation, we can tackle it in those two ways. It can be in the moment, moment
Mhm.
to moment, addressing with practices, and it also has to be with healing,
Yeah.
because your
Yeah.
nervous system is bogged down with those memories presenting themselves as if they are current reality.
Yeah. And how are you currently helping people with this habit, with this tendency to burden and burn ourselves out with fixing? What do you
I like
have?
that you use the word burden, because I have a program and it's called The Unburdened Heart.
Oh,
And it's a
nice.
7-week program and starts on October 29th.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's all about. It's about the different stages of this and covered in every session. And it's in a group setting and it's live with me. So you can also ask questions and work through it in a community.
Okay. So that's a 7-week program. It's called Unburdened Heart, and it's a group program.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Will you give me the link to I can put it in the show notes in case
Absolutely.
someone's interested?
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up for the day?
No, I think we did a really pretty like comprehensive job here.
Yeah. Awesome.
Hmm.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to Unfuck Your Money. You had me, Nadine Zomelt, and Marina Triner here with you today talking about fixing. Marina's new program starts on October 29th, 2025, just in case you're listening to this in like 2030 or something. And her program starts October 29th, and it's a 7-week program. And there's a link in the show notes if you are interested in checking it out. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time on Unfuck Your Money.